Chris Tyson from MrBeast YouTube channel recently announced that he was taking hormone replacement therapy in an attempt to transition from a male to a female. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but before I do that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new and click the bell so you get notified about my future uploads. In a post to his Twitter account, Chris Tyson uploaded a before and after image of himself saying HRT, and it's only been 2 months. Also, during the 2023 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards in April, Chris showed up with MrBeast and other members of his YouTube channel dressed as a woman and wearing makeup. I feel bad for Chris and people like him who go through hormone replacement therapy to try to make themselves look like the opposite sex. I say look like the opposite sex because no matter what they do, they will still biologically be the gender they were assigned to at birth until the day they die. For example, no matter how much makeup they put on or how many surgeries they get, a man will never be able to biologically become a woman. For instance, he will never be able to get pregnant and give birth to a child, and his DNA will be different. Male DNA contains one X chromosome and one Y chromosome, whereas the female DNA contains 2 X chromosomes. So, if you would take a blood or tissue sample from a man who has transitioned into a woman and identifies as a woman now and send it to a lab, the test results would come back and tell you, this is a man. Not to mention, men's bones and muscles are different than women's. Men tend to have larger, denser bones and more muscle mass. A transgender woman could die today, and if 100 years later archaeologists dug up their bones and analyzed them, they would say, this was a man. So this idea about men or women being able to take hormones to transition into the opposite sex is unscientific. And it's also satanic in the sense that it causes confusion and leads people to live biblically inappropriate lifestyles. One example of this is cross-dressing. Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5 says, "A woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all who do so are an abomination to the Lord your God." An abomination is something that is especially offensive to God. Sometimes transgender people enter into relationships with people of the same sex. This also is called an abomination in the Bible. Leviticus chapter 20 verse 13 says, "If a man lies with a male as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." Now, I'm not saying that homosexuals should be put to death, but we see how serious of an offense this was to God, and today, society has normalized it. But aside from that, after Chris Tyson announced that he was transitioning, he got instant backlash. One user on Twitter wrote, "There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to." But Chris actually responded to that tweet saying, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folk aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate. It's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love." Tucker is Chris's son who was born in 2020, and even though Chris going trans may not seem like a problem for Tucker now, there's no telling how this is going to affect him in the future. Imagine how Tucker is going to feel when he sees other boys doing things with their father, and his father is a mother now. And kids could be very cruel, which can lead to Tucker being made fun of or even worse, bullied at school or by other kids in his neighborhood. Although Tucker's neighborhood is probably not the same as the neighborhood I grew up in, since Chris Tyson is a millionaire and his son lives a privileged life, so hopefully he'll be sheltered from some of that. But still, there's no way he's going to remain unscathed. And I don't know if Chris thought this through, but in my opinion, he's not being a responsible parent. And I can't help to think how this is not only going to affect Chris's son, Tucker, But what about all of the young viewers of MrBeast's channel? MrBeast has the largest YouTube channel in America with 146 million subscribers at the making of this video, and his videos consistently get hundreds of millions of views. There's no doubt that many of those viewers are young children. And that's concerning because now they're witnessing Chris's transgender transformation, which is grooming them into accepting transgenderism and trans activism at an impressionable age. This is a serious problem. Personally, I have 3 young children of my own. My oldest daughter is almost 9 years old, and I try to shield them from those types of things and instill biblical values in them. So they're not going to be watching MrBeast anytime soon. I don't think they've watched any MrBeast videos anyway. But I've watched some of MrBeast's videos and even enjoyed them because, for the most part, they were entertaining and clean. But if Chris starts prancing around in a dress and makeup, forget it. There's other things I could watch. Are you a MrBeast fan? And if so, will Chris's feminine appearance in his videos affect you and your family's viewing habits? Let me know in the comments down below. Aside from that, Chris was married to a beautiful woman named Tyson, who he married in 2018 and then divorced in 2022. 2 years prior to their divorce, in 2020, Chris came out as bisexual. Some are speculating that this had something to do with his divorce, even though Chris hasn't revealed the cause of their divorce to the public. And that's another thing, he had a wife. When you get married, you vow to love your spouse for better or for worse till the day you die. In other words, you try to work your problems out. Where I'm going with this is, if Chris were a responsible husband, he would try to make his marriage work and suppress his same-sex attraction and transgender desires. Those types of things are harmful to a marriage. Through prayer, support from his family and friends, and counseling, I'm sure he could have been successful. That reminds me of a promise in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 through 5, stating, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God, for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ." God has promised divine aid to help us bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. And I believe this includes thoughts of same-sex attraction and transgenderism. As a matter of fact, numerous testimonies exist of people who lived those kinds of lifestyles which have now been transformed by the power of God. One of them is a personal friend of mine, Michael Carducci, and he has a ministry helping people with same-sex attraction and identity struggles. It's called Coming Out Ministries. His website includes video testimonies and resources to help restore men and women back to the image of their Creator. Click on the link in the video description to visit Coming Out Ministries if this is something you struggle with. Chris Tyson has been taking hormone replacement therapy to transition to a female, but biologically, that's impossible. This is concerning not only because he has a young son, but because many young, impressionable people watch MrBeast, and this is grooming them to accept transgenderism and same-sex attraction. Chris Tyson came out in 2020 as bisexual, and some are speculating that this led to the breakup of his marriage. And that's sad because he made a vow to his wife, which he has now broken, when I'm sure that he could have gained the victory over this by the power of God. Just because someone has immoral sexual desires or desires to attempt to change their gender doesn't mean they have to give in to those desires. That's called temptation. And the Bible tells us to resist temptation. James chapter 4 verse 7 states, "Therefore, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Satan is the originator of sin, and to resist him is to resist temptation and sin as well. So pray for Chris Tyson, pray for his family, and pray for MrBeast and his crew as well. Maybe they'll be able to talk some sense into Chris. James chapter 5 verses 19 through 20 says, "Brethren, if anyone among you wanders from the truth, and someone turns him back, Let him know that he who turns a sinner from the error of his way will save a soul from death and cover a multitude of sins. Click on the screen to check out some more of my videos. I have a lot of good Christian videos, which I'm sure you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Please like and share this video to help spread God's word. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.